What's happening, guys? Long time no see. We are going to flatten a board today with winding sticks and a couple hand planes. One of the problems with woodworking in the beginning is that the tools you have access to are usually not big electric tools. So a lot of times you have to learn the hardest part of woodworking, which is hand tools, when you get started. And then as you grow your skills and you get more tools, you end up getting tools that make those things a lot easier. So nothing makes you appreciate a big, nice planer or jointer like knowing how to do this stuff with hand planes. So I want to walk you through that. We're going to use winding sticks to flatten this white oak today. Now here's a little secret about winding sticks is there are some beautiful winding sticks out there. I've seen guys like Paul Sellers or Rob Cosman make some gorgeous ones, and that is awesome. However, the problem with hardwoods is they like to move over time and expand and contract. And so you want to do things that are stable. And so when I do winding sticks, I make them all the time when I need to flatten things or flatten slabs, and I'll make different lengths or different heights. I guess height doesn't really matter, but it doesn't matter. You want to use something very stable. So I like to use plywood. So I'm going to show you the way to make the easiest, cheapest winding sticks on the planet. Now, a winding stick, all that a winding stick is, it's two boards of exact same size that have a center mark, and that helps you just align it on the board. And then on one of the winding sticks, it's going to have some color in the top corners. And that's going to help when you look down the board, you'll be able to, it'll accentuate the twist and allow you to see where you have any problem areas. So I've already cut these boards to the same width. I haven't cut them to length yet because I'm going to show you a really cheap and easy way to make winding sticks. So I've put some blue tape on one of them, and I'm just going to label my centers with something easy to see. I'm just using a marker for the video so you can see it. I would normally probably use a pencil, just kind of a thick pencil or something like that. The center marks aren't crazy crucial because it's sort of for just eyeballing the center so that you know your winding sticks are pretty lined up. So you don't have to get too crazy with center there. Again, if you want to make nice ones, it's a great exercise in shop jigs. So I would look up how to make those if you want to make some nice cool ones, but this is just how I get the job done. Now I've labeled my center. I have tape on one of them. I'm just going to take a marking gauge here. The thing about a winding stick is the only thing that matters is the very top edge. So you don't need to go too crazy with this. These two boards that I have, I know they have a flat edge on them, and they are the exact same width. So I'm just going to take my marking gauge from the flat side, and we're just going to cut our tape on this side, do the same thing over here. Again, only the top edge matters, so it's not that big a deal. And then I'm going to take a marking knife and measure in about, let's call it 2 inches from the edge, which I already know is square, just like that. And then all you have to do is just peel that tape off. And I just take a bright colored spray paint. Boom, just like that. I'm gonna let that dry, and then we're just gonna using this edge, because we know it's flat, we're gonna trim this off, and make sure you trim your other winding sticks so they're the exact same height. And that's gonna give us a super clean, nice red line to see when we look down our board. And it's also gonna make sure, if you cut them to width first, or to height first, and then you spray your spray paint, if you get some on the top, that can throw off your measurement. So let me cut these down, I'll let this dry, and then I'm gonna show you how to flatten this board. So with winding sticks, you could get this done with like a smaller number 4 plane. Obviously, the longer your plane, the better it is, but you can get it done with a number 4, no problem. I'm gonna be using a jack plane. If this was a highly figured wood, I'd wanna be using a regular or high angle plane, but because this is white oak, I'm gonna just use my jack because it's the longest one that I have that is very sharp right now. If you wanna set yourself up for success on this, your plane has to be really sharp. You want a sharp plane. One thing that I like to do is I have a slow speed grinder with a buffing wheel in my shop, and I'll just every 10 minutes or so I'll go hit it on the buffer. It's sort of like power stropping, and it makes your job a lot easier. Also, some wax on the bottom of your plane really sets you up for success. The less friction, the better. Ladies and gentlemen, keep your minds out of the gutter. Woo, it's nice to be back, baby. All right, so first thing we want to do is check and see if the board is concave or convex. You do not want concave, because what happens is then your winding sticks can lean and change. And so you want to make sure you take any hump out of the middle first. You want to stay away from the edges if there's a hump in the middle. And one easy way to do that, if you don't want to just get into winding sticks right now, is you can take your plane. Now I can tell that this board has a very low edge over here. So we're going to need to bring down the middle to our lowest point. And it looks like we are concave, which is not good for winding sticks. So we're not going to get much benefit from our winding sticks until we take that out. So I'm going to take the middle out, checking along the way. As you do this, you want to remember the geometry of a plane is such that it doesn't cut on the sides of the blade. So what that means is if you go in the same area, hence down the middle, if there's a concave, you want to go until it stops taking material, because that means the sides are now perched on the edge of that trough you've been cutting, and that's going to allow you to take out the concave. So we're going to start in the middle and then work our way out until we are nice and flat all the way across. And then we're going to start worrying about corners, and that's when we're going to be able to use our winding sticks. All right, so we've got out the concave. It's now pretty flat, even a little convex in the corner. I did that by going across the board. That just worked a lot better, checking that I wasn't creating a huge hump in the middle. We're now gonna go to our winding sticks. And with winding sticks, you do across the board first, because that's gonna give you a high and a low corner. And then we're gonna check the length of the board after we get all the corners flat. And I cut a nut off here. I kept hitting it with the plane and it was like dulling it instantly. So in the interest of not having to sharpen 1,000 times to do a demo video of a board, I cut it off. There's another knot here. This is like at least an 1/8 inch low. I don't think we're gonna get to that corner. So we're gonna sort of check it just past the knot. So what you do is you put your winding stick in the middle, the one with the red or the markers on it in the back, and then you're gonna take it and you just look down the board and you lower your eyes until the red disappears. And just like if you've seen any of my hand plane setup videos, the way you check when the blade is square coming out at the same time, you're gonna lower your eyes and just check and see which side of the red disappears first. So I've reversed the winding stick so you can't see the red, it's facing me, but I wanna show you how I look at it. So I lower my eyes until the red disappears, and this corner is disappearing last on me. So I know we have two high corners, this corner and this corner, because I showed you the shot where you could see the red in the last one. So I'm going to show you how we get rid of those. So we've got a high corner here and a high corner here. And how do you get rid of those without, obviously we don't want to change the geometry too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by going across this way. These are going to be our first passes. And then we're going to go on the outsides of those, just like this, and go on the outsides of those. And then we're going to check. And then we're going to go back the other way and do this. And that's going to keep our center high. But you want to kind of pull off as you get to the corner. So maybe don't start in the middle. And what happens here, and the reason you check the length last, is as you're getting the corners to the same height, you may change the geometry in the middle. And once we have all our corners the same height, the way that a hand plane works is because of the length of it and the way it takes off material, taking down the middle is going to be our last in our order of operations. So we're going to cross across the board, focusing, going this way, but for every 2 we go this way, we're going to go 1 this way. And we're going to continue to check with our winding sticks. Your plane is a great intermediary, kind of in between. So let's get going on taking those down. And you'll be able to see me remove the marker so you can kind of see the areas that I'm doing first. So I think I just realized I've been saying convex and concave backwards, but we've got it so all the corners are the same height, and there's a little bit of a concave in the middle, and that's a good thing. That's kind of what you want to have happen, because now we're going to go with the grain and take down the sides first and work our way to the middle, and that should give us a pretty flat board across, and then we need to check the long ways, but we're almost there. And what's great is this is going to be our reference surface for everything else you do. So when you square your edges, when you square your ends, this is going to be our reference face. So we're going to go ahead and do the edges, working our way to the middle, and that should give us a pretty flat board across, and then we'll check the long way. All right, so now I'm just taking my winding stick here. You can do this with the edge of your plane, although planes, I mean, they're ground straight and square if you get a good one, but like, I don't know, you get little nicks in them and it can trick you. So a freshly cut piece of plywood, just run in the corner there. Pretty much no light. I got a couple spots. I hit something right here. But other than that, we are pretty good. It's time to check the other way. This is a good time to break out your smaller plane. Hopefully it's still very sharp, and that way you can knock down any kind of problem areas. But we're gonna check it the other way now. So we're gonna check the long way, and you could do this with wider winding sticks, but these will give you the gist. Mine are maybe a little bit short. I should have planned ahead a little bit more, but that's okay. It's gonna work for our purposes. So we're gonna check it this way, and both red sides are disappearing at the same time, which is great. I do want to, there's like a little bit of a plane track here in the middle, so I'm gonna hit the middle just a couple times, and I'm not taking much of a shaving here. You can hear that it's just hitting a couple high spots there, and there we go. And man, that is, I mean, that's like finish ready. Yeah, that is pretty incredible. Just give it one last check here. Yeah, see, look, here's the difference between the plane and a winding stick. So my winding stick, I can see almost no light through, but my plane, I can see a lot more through. So your planes are good to start, but make sure you check it with something nice and straight and clean. And then last but not least, I'm just gonna check it corner to corner to make sure we don't have any twist left. Now this is a little bit more difficult. You kind of want to look at it from the side and make sure your boards are pointing the same way so you don't trick yourself into something. Yeah, we are looking good. So winding sticks make this a lot easier. You can make really fancy ones. I really like the ones Rob Cosman has. Paul Sellers has some good ones. But they don't have to be fancy, just a couple pieces of plywood. This is sort of one of those things that is a rite of passage as a woodworker. Of course, if you're a hand tool only guy, this is how you live on a daily basis. Guys like James Wright, Wood by Wright, he's phenomenal, just hand tool only. Rex Kruger, great guy if you're trying to get into this, but it's something that takes some practice and a lot of upper body strength, stamina, not strength. It's not like it's hard to push a plane, but little wax and making sure that it is really, really sharp makes a big deal. I think there was one thing I didn't really show well that I wanted to reiterate, but is if this is our board long ways and you get a hump in the middle, the way you want to work it in sections. So you got your middle where your hump is, and you want to do some passes there and then work your way out. And that's going to continue to take the hump down, but it's not going to create a big concave, which I think I was saying wrong the whole first part of the video. And then you work your way out and do some more passes, and that's how you're going to get rid of that hump. And that sort of applies to a lot of things. Like you saw when I was doing the crisscrosses to take down the corners, you don't want to just take down the corners. You want to take down the corners more, but you also want to take down the whole board because you don't want to now have too low corners. So you work your way slowly and methodically away from the areas that you're working on. So you start with those areas and then work your way out, and you should get pretty good results. One other thing I always love to say, because it causes so much discussion, is you set your hand planes down, blade side down. You do it slowly. The way I do it is I set the tip down first, nice and easy, and then let it down slowly. The reason is, one, A2 tool steel is way stronger than any piece of wood I'm going to set it on. It's stronger than my workbench, so that's not going to dull it. When you set it down on your side, what happens is you can knock it out of alignment. This stuff is really held in. It's like the perfect storm of design because it's sort of a friction fit, but it's also designed to be loose enough that you can use the levers to adjust it. In Japanese plane, the way you adjust the blade is you use a mallet by tapping the side, and it takes very little tapping. Do yourself a favor, even with your Western planes, turn it upside down, watch the blade, and just lightly tap the side with like a copper mallet. You'll see that blade moves. So that's why you always set it down like this. And I know that Paul Sellers, agrees with me, Matt Esley agrees with me, and a lot of other really good woodworkers. So even if you don't need to do this for a project, it is a great exercise in using your hand planes and knowing when they get duller. When you're doing a lot of hand planing on the face of a board, you see when it gets dull and when you need to get sharpened. You saw me buff mine. That is a great way to do it. Or keep a strop by your bench and just keep stropping it. As long as you don't let it get super dull, your time in between full sharpenings is a lot longer. So it's a great way to keep your plane skills up and work on that. So thanks for watching. We're going to be building some marking gauges from scratch next, which are super exciting. If you want to support the channel, head over to the store, get a Katz-Moses apron, a dovetail jig, whoops, or a stop block. I'm out of practice. Guys, stay safe in the shop. Have a wonderful day.